The arrival of the Voidborn. The vast expanse of the Milky Way had known peace for millennia under the stewardship of the Galactic Alliance. At the heart of this coalition of advanced civilizations were the Lumina, a race of beings composed of pure energy and light. Their homeworld, Solara Prime, was a beacon of hope and progress, its crystalline spires reaching towards the stars like fingers of light grasping at eternity. For countless generations, the Lumina had guided younger species towards enlightenment, sharing their advanced technology and wisdom freely. They took pride in nurturing civilizations from their first tentative steps into space until they were ready to join the ranks of the Alliance as equals. It was a golden age of exploration, scientific advancement, and cultural exchange. But in the depths of space, beyond the warm glow of familiar stars, something stirred. The first signs were subtle: a few missing freighters in the outer reaches, some garbled distress signals from distant outposts. The Alliance dismissed these as routine mishaps in the vast wilderness of space. It wasn't until an entire Lumina colony on the planet Ethon went dark that the true nature of the threat revealed itself. When Alliance ships arrived to investigate, they found only devastation. The once thriving settlement was now a lifeless husk, its inhabitants seemingly erased from existence. As the shocked crew conducted their grim survey, the sky above them suddenly darkened. Massive ships unlike any they had ever seen materialized in orbit. Their hulls seemed to drink in light itself, creating a void in space that hurt the eyes to look upon. From these monstrous vessels poured swarms of smaller craft, descending on the Alliance ships like a plague of locusts. The battle was as brief as it was one-sided. Alliance weapons seemed to have little effect on the strange hulls of the invaders, while their own weapons tore through shields and armor with terrifying ease. As the last Alliance vessel frantically transmitted a warning before being destroyed, the galaxy got its first glimpse of the Voidborn. In the cycles that followed, panic spread through the Alliance as more colonies fell to these implacable invaders. The Lumina, for all their advanced technology, found themselves outmatched at every turn. Their attempts at communication were met with silence, their offers of peace ignored. It seemed the Voidborn had but one purpose: to consume all in their path. On Solara Prime, the Lumina High Council convened in emergency session. The chamber, usually a place of measured debate and thoughtful discourse, now crackled with tension and fear. "We must sue for peace," cried one councillor, her form flickering with distress. "Surely there must be some way to reason with these beings." "Peace," scoffed another, his light pulsing an angry red. "They've made their intentions clear. We fight or we perish." The arguments raged on, but as reports of yet another fallen world came in, a grim silence fell over the assembly. It was clear that their current strategies were failing. The Voidborn advanced relentlessly, and at their current pace, they would reach the heart of luminous space within a standard solar cycle. Solara, the youngest member of the High Council, spoke up. Her voice was soft, but it carried a strength that made the others pause. "There may be another option. In our archives, there are records of a species we once observed, but chose not to contact. They were deemed too volatile, too unpredictable to join the Alliance. But perhaps what we once saw as weakness may be our salvation." The chief councillor's form shimmered with curiosity. "Speak plainly, Solara. What species do you refer to?" Solara's light pulsed with determination as she answered, "They call themselves humans." A murmur ran through the council chamber. The humans were a curiosity, a primitive species by Alliance standards. They had only recently achieved limited spaceflight and had yet to venture beyond their own solar system. Their history was marred by conflict and division, yet they had also shown remarkable resilience and creativity in the face of adversity. "Surely you jest," one councillor scoffed. "These humans barely understand the principles of faster-than-light travel. How could they possibly stand against the Voidborn?" Solara stood firm. "It is precisely because they are different that they may succeed where we have failed. The Voidborn seem to counter our every move, as if they know our strategies before we employ them. But humans are unpredictable. They think in ways we cannot fathom, and they have a history of overcoming seemingly insurmountable odds. The debate raged for hours, but as news of yet another devastating void-born attack reached them, desperation began to overtake skepticism. Finally, the chief counselor raised her hands for silence. "We have run out of options," she said bravely. "If there is even a chance that these humans can help us, we must take it. Zilara, you will lead a delegation to their world. Offer them whatever it takes to secure their aid. The fate of the galaxy may rest on their shoulders." As Zilara's ship prepared to depart for the distant blue world called Earth, she couldn't help but wonder if they were grasping at false hope. The humans were an enigma, capable of both great kindness and terrible cruelty. Would they rise to this challenge, or would they turn their backs on a galaxy in need? The journey to Earth was tense, each moment bringing news of further void-born incursions. Zilara spent the time studying everything the Alliance knew about humans, trying to understand their complex and often contradictory nature. She was both fascinated and appalled by their history of conflict, yet also moved by their capacity for sacrifice and heroism. As they entered Earth's solar system, Zilara felt a mix of hope and trepidation. The fate of countless worlds now rested on her ability to convince this young species to fight an enemy they had never seen in a war that spanned the stars. Their ship cloaked, they observed the blue planets spinning below them. Billions of lives, unaware of the cosmic drama unfolding around them. Zilara took a deep breath, steadying herself for the task ahead. "Open a channel to their global communication network," she instructed her crew. "It's time to introduce ourselves to humanity." As the signal was sent, Zilara couldn't help but wonder. Would this be the moment that changed the course of galactic history, or the final futile act of a dying civilization? Only time would tell. Humanity's unexpected role. The day Earth's skies lit up with the arrival of the lunar delegation would forever be etched in human history. Panic gave way to wonder as Zilara's message of peace echoed across every communication channel. Leaders scrambled, militaries mobilized, and the entire planet held its breath as humanity faced its first contact with an alien civilization. What followed was a whirlwind of diplomacy, cultural exchange, and frantic preparation. The Lumina shared glimpses of advanced technology that left human scientists in awe, while Earth's leaders grappled with the magnitude of the threat facing the galaxy. Initially, many were skeptical. How could humanity, barely able to reach its own moon, hope to stand against an enemy that had bested the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy? But as the Lumina shared more about the Voidborn, their relentless advance, their seemingly unstoppable weapons, a familiar fire began to burn in human hearts. It was a fire that had driven them to overcome countless obstacles throughout their history, a determination to stand against impossible odds. Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force found herself at the center of this whirlwind. A decorated veteran of the Mars colony's conflict, she had been handpicked to lead the first human contingent in the war against the Voidborn. As she stood before the hastily assembled group of volunteers, she couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and trepidation. "I won't lie to you," she addressed the diverse group before her. "We're heading into a fight unlike anything humanity has ever faced. The enemy is advanced, ruthless, and so far undefeated. But that's about to change, because they haven't faced us yet." A cheer went up from the assembled soldiers, a sound that mixed determination with a touch of bravado. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. It was that very human mix of courage and audacity that the Lumina were counting on. The human contingent, a mere 100 strong, boarded the Lumina ships with a mix of excitement and nervousness. As they left Earth's atmosphere, many pressed against viewports for a last glimpse of their home, wondering if they'd ever see it again. Their first taste of combat came sooner than expected. En route to the Alliance staging area, their small fleet encountered a Voidborn scouting party. Sarah watched in horror as Lumina ships, far more advanced than anything humanity have ever built, were torn apart by the strange, dark energy weapons of the Voidborn. "This is suicide," muttered her second-in-command, Major Raj Patel. "What the hell can we do against that?" Sarah's mind raced, observing the battle unfolding before them. The Voidborn moved with a cold efficiency, their formations perfect, their timing impeccable. Almost too perfect. "They're predictable," she realized aloud. "Major, get me control of one of our ship's weapon systems. I have an idea." What followed was a display of piloting that left even the Lumina in awe. Sarah maneuvered their ship in erratic patterns, firing at seemingly random intervals. To the Voidborn, used to the logical, predictable patterns of Alliance combat, it was chaos. "Now," Sarah shouted, and on her command, the entire human contingent opened fire, their uncoordinated assault catching the Voidborn off guard. Ships that had shrugged off precise Lumina attacks found themselves overwhelmed by the barrage of human weaponry. In the span of a few minutes, the tide of the battle turned. The remaining Voidborn vessels retreated, leaving behind a field of debris and stunned Lumina observers. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Sarah found herself surrounded by her fellow humans, all wearing expressions of disbelief and elation. They had done it. They had driven back the undefeatable enemy. Zelara approached, her form shimmering with what Sarah had learned to recognize as excitement. "That was remarkable," the Lumina said. "How did you know that would work?" Sarah shrugged, a very human gesture that still fascinated the Lumina. "I didn't, but I figured if what we were doing wasn't working, we might as well try something crazy." Zelara's light pulsed in what might have been laughter. "Crazy indeed. I believe we may have underestimated you humans." Word of the skirmish spread quickly through Alliance channels. What had been seen as a desperate, perhaps even foolish gambit was now viewed with new interest. Requests came in from various Alliance commanders, all wanting human contingents added to their forces. In the months that followed, humanity's role in the war effort grew exponentially. What they lacked in advanced technology, they made up for in innovative tactics and sheer determination. Human soldiers became known for their ability to improvise in the heat of battle, to find unconventional solutions to seemingly impossible problems. It wasn't always smooth sailing. Cultural clashes between humans and various alien species led to more than a few tense moments. The Alliance military structure, refined over millennia, often chafed against the more flexible, adaptable approach favored by human commanders. Yet with each victory, no matter how small, hope began to grow. The Voidborn advance, for the first time since their arrival, began to slow. Sarah found herself promoted, now commanding not just the human forces, but a mixed fleet of Alliance ships. She stood on the bridge of her flagship, a Lumina cruiser melded with human innovations, looking out at the stars. "Captain," Rage approached, his face serious. "We've just received word. The Voidborn have begun a major push towards the Lumina homeworld. Alliance Command is calling for every available ship." Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. This would be the true test. Everything they had fought for, every lesson learned and sacrifice made, had led to this moment. "Send word to the fleet," she ordered, her voice steady. "We make our stand at Solara Prime. It's time to show the Voidborn that humanity isn't just along for the ride. We're here to win this war." As her orders echoed across the comms, Sarah allowed herself a moment of reflection. They had come so far from that first chaotic battle. Humanity had proven itself time and again, earning the respect and trust of their alien allies. Now, they would fight not just for Earth, but for every world threatened by the Voidborn menace. The fleet began to move, ships of various designs and origins falling into formation around her flagship. Humans worked alongside beings of light, crystalline entities, and species beyond easy description, all united in common cause. As they entered hyperspace, Sarah felt a surge of determination. The final battle loomed before them, with the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. But if there was one thing she had learned in this war, it was to never underestimate the power of humanity when its back was against the wall. the stars streaked by outside, carrying them towards their destiny. Whatever awaited them at Solara Prime, Sarah knew one thing for certain: humanity was ready to face it head-on. Part 3. Turning the Tide. The scene that greeted Sarah's fleet as they emerged from hyperspace near Solara Prime was one of barely contained chaos. The Voidborn assault had begun in earnest, their dark ships swarming around the Lumina homeworld like a plague of locusts. The planet's defenses, formidable as they were, strained under the relentless attack. "Status report," Sarah barked, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. Raider's fingers flew over his console. Lumen defensive grid is holding, but only just. They've lost nearly a third of their orbital platforms. Ground-based weapons are still operational, but they're being overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Sarah nodded grimly. It was bad, but not unsalvageable. "All right, people, this is what we've trained for. Battle Plan Omega. Let's show these Voidborn what happens when you back humanity into a corner." Throughout the fleet, human and alien crews alike sprang into action. Months of joint operations had honed them into a formidable fighting force, blending the best of Alliance technology with human ingenuity and unpredictability. The battle that unfolded over Solara Prime would be studied for generations to come. Sarah's forces struck hard and fast, using unorthodox tactics that kept the Voidborn off balance. Human pilots pushed their ships to the limit, performing maneuvers that their alien allies had once thought impossible. But the Voidborn were far from beaten. They adapted quickly, their hive mind allowing them to shift strategies with terrifying speed. For every ship the Alliance destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. Hours stretched into days as the battle raged on. The space around Solara Prime became a graveyard of broken ships and shattered dreams. Yet still, the defenders held on, drawing strength from the knowledge that this was their last stand. It was during a lull in the fighting that Sarah received a transmission from the Lumina High Council. The Chief Counselor's form flickered with fatigue, but her voice was resolute. "Captain Chen, your forces have fought valiantly, but we fear it may not be enough. Our analysts have identified what we believe to be the Voidborn command ship." A new image appeared, showing a massive vessel unlike any they had seen before. "If we can destroy it, we may be able to throw their entire force into disarray." Sarah studied the image, her mind racing. "That thing's got to be at least 5 times the size of my flagship. How are we supposed to take it out?" The Chief Counselor's light dimmed slightly. We're not certain, but we trust in your species' ability to find a way where none seems to exist." As the transmission ended, Sarah leaned back in her command chair, her mind racing. The Voidborn command ship loomed in her thoughts, a seemingly insurmountable obstacle. But as she looked around the bridge at her diverse crew, human and alien alike, an idea began to form. "Raj," she called out, "get me a secure line to all ship commanders. And I need our top engineers on the line too. I think I have a crazy idea." Within minutes, Sarah was outlining her plan to a mix of skeptical and intrigued faces on the view screen. It was audacious, borderline insane, and exactly the kind of thinking that had given humanity its edge in this war. "You want to do what?" exclaimed a Lumina commander, his form flickering with what Sarah had come to recognize as disbelief. "Turn our ships into a giant EMP," Sarah repeated, a grim smile on her face. "We know the Voidborn rely heavily on complex electronic systems. If we can overload them all at once, we might just have a shot at taking out that command ship." There was a moment of stunned silence, then the channel erupted with voices, some protesting, others already working out the technical details. Sarah let the discussion flow, watching as human creativity sparked against alien knowledge, creating something entirely new. Hours later, as the Voidborn renewed their assault, the Alliance fleet put their desperate plan into action. Ships moved into precise formation, their engines and power cores modified to channel energy in ways their designers had never intended. "All ships report ready," Captain Reg announced, his voice tense but steady. Sarah took a deep breath, acutely aware that if this failed, they might not get another chance. "Initiate Operation Thunderclap," she ordered. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, a wave of energy began to build between the Alliance ships. It started as a faint shimmer, barely visible against the backdrop of space, but it grew quickly, expanding outward in a sphere of crackling power. The Voidborn, sensing the threat, turned their attention to the phenomenon, but it was too late. The energy wave expanded with explosive force, washing over their ships in a tide of electromagnetic chaos. For a moment, everything seemed to stop. Voidborn ships hung motionless in space, their systems overloaded and failing. Even some Alliance vessels, despite their preparations, struggled against the surge of power. "Now," Sarah shouted, "all functioning ships, concentrate fire on the command vessel." What followed was a barrage unlike anything seen before in the war. Every operational weapon in the Alliance fleet opened fire, pouring energy and projectiles into the massive Voidborn ship. Its defenses, already weakened by the EMP, crumbled under the onslaught. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with agonizing slowness, cracks began to appear in the command ship's hull. They spread like spiderwebs, growing larger and more numerous until, in a final cataclysmic moment, the entire vessel broke apart. The effect on the remaining Voidborn forces was immediate and dramatic. Without the guiding influence of their command ship, the swarm fell into disarray. Some ships collided with each other, while others fired wildly into space. "Press the advantage," Sarah ordered, her voice hoarse but triumphant. "Don't let up until every last one of them is neutralized or retreating." The battle that followed was less a fight and more a rout. Alliance forces, energized by their improbable victory, tore through the confused Voidborn fleet. Within hours, the space around Solara Prime was clear of enemy forces, littered instead with the remnants of their shattered invasion. As the realization of their victory sank in, cheers erupted across the Alliance fleet. On the bridge of her flagship, Sarah allowed herself a moment of relief, slumping back in her chair as the tension of the past days finally released its grip. Rage approached, his usual stoic demeanor cracking to reveal a wide grin. "We did it, Captain. We actually did it." Sarah nodded, a tired smile on her face. "We all did it, Raj. Every human, every alien who fought alongside us. This victory belongs to all of us." In the days that followed, as the full extent of their victory became clear, a new era dawned for the Galactic Alliance. The Voidborn threat, while not entirely eliminated, had been decisively broken. More importantly, the bonds forged between humanity and the other races of the Alliance had been tempered in the fires of war, emerging stronger than ever. On Solara Prime, in the Grand Chamber of the High Council, Sarah stood alongside representatives from every race that had fought in the war. The Chief Counselor's form glowed with an intensity that lit the entire room as she addressed the assembled heroes. "Today, we stand at the dawn of a new age," she proclaimed. "An age where the strengths of all our peoples are united in common cause. The Voidborn sought to destroy us, but instead, they have only made us stronger." She turned to Sarah, her light pulsing with what could only be described as pride. "Humanity has proven itself not just as allies, but as true members of our galactic family. Your courage, your creativity, your indomitable spirit have saved us all. From this day forward, Earth will have a place of honor within the Galactic Alliance." As cheers filled the chamber, Sarah felt a profound sense of awe. They had come so far, faced impossible odds, and emerged victorious. But more than that, they had found their place among the stars. The war against the Voidborn was over, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. With new friends at their side and an entire galaxy to explore, the future stretched out before them, bright with promise and possibility. As Sarah looked out over the assembled representatives of a dozen worlds, she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. For in unity, they had found not just strength but hope, hoped for a future where the light of cooperation and understanding would always triumph over the darkness of fear and division. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity.